Hey guys, welcome back to Contest Prep University. I'm Joe Klemczewski with Adam Atkinson, and we are in episode, what is this now? Episode 6 of our series on different approaches for different divisions. And the final one for women is going to be women's bodybuilding. And the reason I saved this for last, Adam, is we've been kind of scaling toward the more extreme look, higher levels of conditioning, more muscle mass. And so here we are to the original, the standard, women's bodybuilding. And because of all the different divisions now, where you can go in different directions with conditioning and you know how heavily muscled a frame is, this is now let bodybuilding be bodybuilding. They want the women to be as big and lean and just as extreme as they can be. Is that correct in your assessment?
Absolutely. It's the king of divisions. And quite honestly, back in the day, it was only figure and bodybuilding and fitness that existed when I got into the sport. So I'm really excited to see bodybuilding come back to the Olympia again.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, I go back even further where there was no figure. And so you had people like the original Corey Everson, all of a sudden, you know, making way for somebody like Bev Francis, where it's like, oh my gosh, where did this beast come from with all this muscle? And, you know, ever since that kind of matchup, then it just kept going more and more and more extreme, which is what sparked all the interest in the other divisions that bring about different aesthetics. But now the gloves are off in women's bodybuilding. It's just about bringing the biggest, hardest, most symmetrical package you can to the stage. So in terms of approach, you mentioned in women's physique, you know, now you have to get lean. And you know, where a bikini competitor might be able to stop arbitrarily, let's say 9 or 10% body fat, maybe 8. Like these women bodybuilders now can go down to 5 or 6% or 7%. So it's gonna be harder for most. It's gonna take a little bit more time. And so from your approach, somebody who likes to read people's body types and use a flexible dieting methodology, is there anything different other than just time and making sure that you can go the distance?
Making sure there's plenty of time and even just erring on the side of caution with it. Oftentimes when I work with these women, there is that active comparison. Is there something wrong with me that I can't, you know, diet on this amount of calories? Well, one, usually even genetically, they're just superior to building muscle, which what does that tell us? They usually have a slower metabolism to begin with. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of the caveat of the division. And just making sure you have plenty of time and absolutely gain a metabolic building phase in before they step on stage is huge.
Mm-hmm. You know, I've talked about one of my recent clients in the past because she was a world champion bodybuilder, and she hadn't competed in almost 20 years. She took time off to have a family, made a comeback, and and picked up right where she left off, which is just kind of in the top 3 to 5, but never really winning. And that was my approach with her. It was, okay, you've competed at this weight. We need to come down about 5 pounds lighter and then have time to make sure we've got the calorie increase to support fullness and peaking into a bigger look. And it was absolutely because of the striated glutes, there's deep separations in her quads, the things that she could never achieve before because we took a little extra time. We were a little bit more aggressive. And then in trying to repeat, you know, we just didn't have the momentum we did for the first show. We got a little bit behind, so we couldn't quite nail that exact level of tightness. And she you know, failed to repeat just by a vote. So that's just how that margin can be that narrow in making sure that you've got the time to still get that conditioning and be able to pull off the size that you can at the end.
Absolutely. It's really a fascinating and incredible division. I actually got to go to the Phoenix Rising this year, which if no one's familiar with that show, I think the women's bodybuilder, it's an all women's show. So all women's division to kind of cap off this podcast, $50,000, and they got like an $80,000 Hellcat sports car. Nice. And the women's bodybuilder that showed up, her name was Helena. She was, I think, from Germany. Just no one could touch this girl. She looked insane. And I kind of secretly told her after the show, I'm like, I hope you like flew here, one-way ticket, because you're probably driving that car home.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
yeah, she blew the competition away. It was fascinating.
And just had that look, right? I mean, just the deep conditioning, you know, muscle separation to the bone, plus all the size.
She would beat some men that I've seen. It was just fascinating. I've not seen anything like it in person.
Awesome. All right, guys, we got about 3 more episodes because we're going to transition into the men as we continue the series. So you guys stay tuned.